You look in the mirror, and you see a finished product, don't you? A house with all its rooms built. A story with every chapter already written. You think your life is a carefully plotted trajectory. And why wouldn't you? The world hands you a script before you even learn to read. It tells you to be kind, to be good, to be predictable. It says, follow these lines, and we'll give you a quiet life, a little pat on the head, and a nice, neat tombstone that says, he was one of us. They break you with permission. You go to them, hat in hand, and ask for a reason to break, an excuse. Was I wronged? Did they hurt me? Did they deserve it? You beg for a narrative that makes your rupture palatable, so you can point to a villain and say, see, they made me do it. It's a pathetic, cowardly way to become a villain, a consolation prize for someone too afraid to simply take what's theirs. But there's another way. There's the kind of decision that hurts the people who invested in your quiet, the kind that makes them look at you like a bad movie they accidentally funded. It's the blade, the hard, ugly option nobody wrote on a motivational poster. It's rupture over rehearsal, truth over comfort. It's the choice to burn the entire script and write your own, even if it's in the dark with a broken piece of charcoal. That choice will cost you sympathy in Netflix timelines. It'll make you a cautionary tale in suburban living rooms and a punchline on podcasts. But holy hell, does it buy you a throne? Not some polite lacquered heirloom. This one's serrated, warm with the heat of everything you burned to get here. Sit. Let the seat hug the scar. The fit is intimate because you carved it yourself. They stare like they've seen a ghost wearing haute couture, as if you've somehow managed to haunt the person they thought they knew. Good. Let them stare. It confuses their scripts. They were expecting a return labeled apology, and you delivered a refund labeled sovereignty. The whisper economy collapses when you don't play their game. Their rumors become reruns. Their outrage becomes background static. You don't need to explain. Your silence is a sentence, and the way it lands on them is the punctuation they can't handle. Laugh. Laugh slow, like you're letting the punchline marinate. Your laugh is a scalpel that doubles as a lullaby. It cuts deep and comforts like a lie you're finally allowed to tell yourself. Every grin you flash is a tiny obituary for who you used to be. They count your smiles like inventory, trying to find the moment you betray yourself. There is no betrayal. There's bookkeeping. You keep receipts, nights you survived, betrayals you recycled into armor, promises you never made to anyone but yourself. Let them organize protests in their living rooms. Let them text their pity and rehearse their pity speeches under fluorescent lights. You bought front row seats to their melodramas, and you brought popcorn. You nibble on their disbelief, savoring the texture of their indignation. When they hurl insults, they throw confetti. They're celebrating themselves for trying. It's adorable and tragic. The gestures dance harder. The more frantic they become, the clearer your outline emerges. They can't mimic the origin story that welded your spine. Play with them like a bored god. Twitch a finger, and a rumor flowers. Arch an eyebrow, and alliances combust on camera. You don't rage. You choreograph. You let them perform the drama they think will topple you. And when their finale fizzles, you stand. Take a single polite bow, and the room remembers who rewrote the script. They wanted a spectacle. You gave them a lesson in efficiency. Break them with minimal effort, maximum style, cruelty. Sure, on your terms. You hand them platitudes like poison candies, neat and wrapped, watching them bite. You're not cruel because you enjoy it. You're cruel because you learned that mercy is a resource you don't squander on freeloaders. When you do extend grace, its currency is traded for truth. Otherwise, let the clowns keep juggling their regrets while you retire to a quiet corner with a cigarette and a ledger. And the crown. The crown is less an ornament and more a warning. It doesn't sparkle. It glints with the memory of every no you turned into a yes. It's heavy because it's full of commitments you made to yourself when you had nothing but a promise and some bad decisions. Wearing it doesn't make you arrogant. It proves you survived the arrogance they thrust on you like pity. So wear it crooked, wear it filthy. Let them think it's a costume until they try to lift it and the metal bites their fingers. This is not a victory lap. It's a new law. You change the rules by choosing to be inconvenient, dangerous, and frighteningly honest. They'll try to domesticate you with stories and hashtags, but you are not a brand. You're a weather event, a laugh track turned thunder, a private joke whose punchline is a revolution. So keep the smoke curled around your shoulders. Keep the throne warm with your heat. And let the court keep performing for the history you rewrote. They'll keep talking. You'll keep ruling, and that damn choice. It's still the only guarantee in the room. You don't parade. You saunter like an accusation that refuses to be dismissed. The court keeps inventing ceremonies to contain you. Panels, podcasts, pity parties, while you treat them like background noise in a restaurant you own. You flick ash into an empty chalice and watch the commentators try to translate the gesture into scandal. Their theories are creative. Bless them. Their conclusions are wrong. You didn't pick the blade to please an audience. You picked it to finish the job. And finishing is boring, methodical, exquisitely private. Every time they try to rebrand you as a villain, laugh like it's a favor. Villain has better perks. Villain gets tasted, feared, remembered. They want your mistakes tattooed on glossy covers and your pain sold in t-shirts. Fine, let them. You collect their editions and use them to light late-night cigarettes. Their merch funds your soundtrack. Their headlines are incense. You set them alight when you need a laugh that smells like their panic. You run your court like a late-night show with teeth. Guests come, perform their little tragedies, and exit feeling accomplished because they riled you. They think they moved the needle. They didn't. You let them climb the ladder to feel useful, and then remove the ladder with a polite cough. That's not cruelty. It's housekeeping. If you're going to be sovereign, you clean house until the floors reflect your grin. If they want the position, they can do the work. Most of them won't. They'll prefer shouting into the void and calling it strategy. And when they send envoys, sincere, trembling, full of apologies sewn from thrift store cotton, accept them like a manager accepts a bad flower arrangement, with a smile that archives the moment. Keep the apology framed in your mind and shove it next to the receipts for every favor you never asked for and will never return. Use it later as a parlor trick. Pull it out in a quiet room. Let it hang like a ghost. Then fold it into a pocket and keep walking. Mercy in your hands becomes leverage. It isn't charity, it's currency. You also keep a soft spot, but it's a controlled burn. Small, selective, lethal to entitlement. People who bled for themselves get more than a glance. They get a place at the table and the tools to stop whining. People who bled for their image get crumbs and a lesson in humility. You aren't cruel to everyone. You're intentional. That precision terrifies them more than fury ever could. Fury is loud and obvious. Precision is a whisper that rearranges spirits. And the best bit, the one that makes them grind teeth in their sleep, is that you never needed them. You wanted them for theater, for spice, for the echo, but you never needed their stamp of approval. That fact is a scandal you didn't intend to release. It leaked, and now it's a contagion. They look at you and see a mirror they never wanted to face. It's ugly. It's honest. It's yours, so keep the throne warm. Keep the crown lopsided and glittering with the ash of every compromise you refused. Keep the cigarette balanced like a wand, and the smirk practiced for maximum collateral damage. Let the court continue auditioning for parts they'll never play. Let the jesters perform until their cheeks ache. You'll be here, calm, amused, sovereign by a single savage decision. You crawled through the blaze and came out humming. They'll keep calling you reckless. Call it what you want. You already chose the blade. Now watch the court bleed applause. You sit there like a crime scene dressed for brunch, lighting a cigarette with the receipt from every person who bet against you. The smoke tastes like their regret, and the ash spells out their excuses. They clutch at narratives like drowning people, grabbing seaweed, pathetic and useless. And you clap politely because their flailing is an art form, and you paid ticket money for the front row. Make a face like you're bored, and watch the court combust. They come in with spreadsheets of betrayal and PowerPoints of spite, thinking organization will beat instinct. Cute. You flip the pages with one finger, and the universe eats the paper. Their plans dissolve like cheap gelatin when heat meets laughter. Tell them to keep their meeting notes. You prefer souvenirs, napkins with their names on them you use to start your lighter. You don't just sit on the throne. You host a roast where the victims don't realize they're on stage. You hand them microphones, step back, and let the world watch their dignity implode in HD. They perform their own demolition. You only provide the soundtrack. When they sob into the camera, it's practically a public service announcement. Don't audition for your downfall. Your timing sucks, and the jokes, old whiskey and twice as smooth. You make quips that sting like someone slapping a bruise with a velvet glove. One-liners that hit like a locksmith's tricks. Click, click, and suddenly alliances open and tumble out. You've got a Rolodex of zingers that are basically emotional landmines. Watch them step and self-destruct while you sip something too expensive for their salary. Twisted, absolutely. You turn mercy into a prank. You hand out forgiveness the way street vendors hand out sample shots. Tiny, intoxicating, then gone. Folks line up to beg for crumbs of your compassion like it's a miracle cure. You sell them nostalgia instead. You make them leave hopeful and hollow, carrying souvenirs of a kindness you pretended to grant. That's performance art. That's economy. You collect their hypocrisy like rare coins, polish it, and drop it into your fountain of irony. When a former critic bows, you toss them a coin and watch them scramble like seagulls. Tragic, hungry, hilarious, their self-righteousness makes for excellent mulch. Plant it, water it with your indifference, and then stand back to admire the garden of petty reputations you've composted into fertilizer for your empire. And the finale, God, the finale. You don't need a sword or a scandal to close the curtain. You simply grin, stand, and extinguish that cigarette on the arm of the throne, like you're turning off a lamp. The jesters freeze mid-tumble. The bloggers gasp and refresh their feeds. You walk off stage with your coat slung over one shoulder, the air still smelling like burned excuses. And the echo of your laugh is the last thing the house hears. That laugh is your signature, part lullaby, part guillotine. So keep being unbearable, monarch. Keep inventing petty myths about how you got lucky. Keep watching them draft manifestos with their little hearts on them. Because luck hasn't got a spine. You do. You picked the blade. You filed it. And you learned to smile while you made the cut. Now sit back, pop another cigarette in, and let the court continue their charade. The world's a messy stage, and you, my dear, are the delightful disaster at center. You light another cigarette like a tiny signal flare that says, "I'm bored. Do better." The smoke curls into a halo that reads like a verdict. Guilty of surviving. People keep showing up with their little torches and moral pitchforks, convinced they're hunting a monster, but all they ever find is someone who learned to make armor out of mistakes. They try to shame you into humility, and instead hand you the props for your next joke. You accept them graciously and file them under free material. You monetize disappointment. Every time someone expects you to crumble, you draft a thank you note and sell it back as theater tickets. They weep, they rant, they write op-eds, excellent free advertising. You flip the script, price the matinee, and sit in the VIP while the critics stage their own downfall for you. The cruel math of it, they feed the rumor mill, and you collect the dividends. It's capitalist and cathartic, and honestly kind of an art form when done right. When a rival tries a dramatic reveal, you watch like it's a magic trick gone wrong. You smile at the awkward flourish and clap slowly, the way an MC applauds an amateur who thinks confidence equals competence. Their dramatics are predictable, always the same crescendo, same gasp, same frantic tweets at 2:00 a.m. You don't burst the bubble. You poke it politely with a cocktail stir, watch the social media soap opera collapse, then pocket your winnings with the amused air of someone who's seen the season finale coming since episode 1. You have a wardrobe of comebacks that are surgical and inexpensive, one-liners that land and won't get you canceled in heat, but will haunt them for months. You keep the real knives for private use, boundaries set so sharp they leave a scar of etiquette. Publicly, you're charmingly indifferent. Privately, you catalog offenses with the clinical patience of a librarian who's been betrayed by overdue books. When the time comes, you pull the overdue list out like a party trick and hand people their receipts. "This is what you signed up for," you say. They blush. You smile. Pranks are your diplomacy. You send a carefully worded compliment that doubles as an indictment. You RSVP to the wrong funeral and bring cake. You congratulate someone on their bravery and let the double meaning ricochet back into their earbuds. They leave interviews convinced they've scored, not realizing you were the one who edited the highlights. You wield sarcasm with the precision of a surgeon and the relish of a stand-up comic who's been rehearsing revenge in the mirror for years. And the humor. Dear God, the humor. It's black as espresso and twice as bitter. You make them chuckle, and then watch the laughter curdle into confusion when the subtext sinks in. You're a walking onion of irony. Each layer peels back to reveal a sharper, funnier, nastier center. They laugh until they don't, until the punchline is their own reflection shoved in their face. Comedy's best trick, it tells the truth while they clap for the lie. You teach by omission. Silence becomes a syllabus. You don't explain your moves because explanations are pedestrian. You create consequences that function like lectures without the boredom. They try to draw diagrams to map your logic, but your logic is a series of tasteful explosions and precise exits. After a while, they stop asking why and start squinting at the scorch marks. trying to figure out what kind of fire could make such clean work. Finally, the sweetest cruelty. You make them nostalgic for you while you're still alive. They miss the version of you they used to pity, and that ache becomes its own religion. Hymns of regret played on repeat. You let them worship that ghost in private, while you parade the new you with effortless insolence. You're not cruel because you enjoy suffering. You're cruel because you understand economy. Attention is a finite resource, and you're the bank. Guard it. Loan it out selectively, and when repayment comes in the form of applause, soaked with humiliation, smile and ring the bell. You want the encore? Fine. Crank the lights down and watch me do the bit where I finish them off with a joke. Sit back, sovereign. The audience is still paying attention. Bless their diluted hearts. They keep showing up with their petitions and PowerPoints, like extras pleading for screen time. You flip one page, raise a brow, and their little manifesto turns into confetti. That's your act. Dismantle their dignity with economy. No drama, no sweat. Just the right amount of disdain served cold. It's efficient. It's hilarious. It's rude in the way a god's smirk should be. Make them fight for crumbs of your attention, and then drop the loaf in their laps just to watch them wrestle for slices. You hand out compliments like landmines, sweet wrapper, explosive consequences. They taste victory and choke on the irony. The smarter ones figure out quick. Act humble, they say, then get tangled in their own humility like toddlers learning to tie shoes. You watch them struggle and giggle. You don't pity them, you profit on their theatrics. It's the oldest business model in the book. Sell the illusion, keep the receipts, laugh on the back end. When a rival gets theatrical and tries to steal your spotlight, you don't chase. You let them perform the most spectacular pratfall, then stroll by and pick up the props. They thought drama would make them dangerous. Cute. Drama is amateur hour. Danger is a patient calculator that waits for the perfect second to cut the lights. You cut the lights with a yawn, and that yawn becomes the sound of their careers deflating like salved balloons. You collect apologies like trinkets, not for sentiment, but for leverage. You place them on a shelf like trophies made of other people's shame. One day when the mood is right, you take one down, polish it on your sleeve, and hand it back as a favor they'll pay for in loyalty and fear. Mercy in your hands becomes a negotiated contract, not a charity. That's the power. Make kindness cost them something real. Humility, effort, honesty, and watch how quickly the freeloaders adjust their posture. Make jokes about their morality like it's a vintage brand no one should trust. Ethics, you say, flicking ash, is a store that sells one-size-fits-all guilt. They queue up with their coupons, thinking they'll get a free conscience. Instead, you hand them a mirror and charge admission. They stare, they flinch, they rewrite their bios. The edit button on their egos is always most active after they cross your orbit. Prime content for your amusement and their humiliation. And the private pleasures, those are sacred. You keep a slow-burning list of humiliations that'll make them sweat in boardrooms years from now. Not public scandal. No, that's messy and gauche. Private unraveling is an art. The quiet text at 3 a.m. The gentle withdrawal of a contract. The subtle rewording of a compliment that becomes a leash. You wield ambiguity like a scalpel. It's surgical. It leaves no messy headlines. Just a trace of shame that ages perfectly, like bad wine and worse decisions. Finally, laugh. Laugh enough to startle the coyotes and make the chandeliers remember they're fragile. Laugh because you can. Laugh because your grin is an unpaid invoice the world keeps trying to settle with excuses. Laugh because the throne was never a prize to win. It was a job you applied for by burning CVs and refusing to apologize for your resume. Let the court stay scandalized. Let them keep rehearsing their outrage. You've already composed the final act. And spoiler, the curtain falls on their faces while you stroll off, humming, crown crooked, cigarette lit, empire intact. You keep the court on a short leash and a long laugh. Give them a morsel of drama and watch them invent a religion around it. Sermons, think pieces, hot takes that age like canned peaches. You let them believe they're influencing you while you're quietly cataloging their devotion for the museum you'll open one day. Exhibits of attempted undoings, tickets sold at the door. They'll buy memories of the old you so they can rewatch their own irrelevance. Hilarious. You flirt with calamity like it owes you money. You wink at scandal, and it melts into a joke. You shrug at betrayal, and it disintegrates into a souvenir. People mistake bewilderment for weakness, confusion for a crack in the armor. Wrong. Confusion is your smokescreen. Let them squint while you rearrange the furniture of power. By the time they read the floor plan, you've already built an annex they'll never afford to enter. There's a filthy thrill in exposing how small their courage is. Send them a petty victory and watch them parade it like a war trophy. Unaware you shipped them a replica, they clutch that plastic prize to their chests, while you keep the actual engine of influence in a sealed crate, labeled "Not for Sale." It's delicious watching ambition die politely in dress shoes. They wanted war. You served them a cake with a fuse inside and a card that says, "Hope you enjoy the bang." You weaponize charm. A compliment from you is a classified document. It opens doors, disarms guards, and triggers quiet revolutions in weak minds. You hand out praise like contraband, and suddenly people betray themselves trying to deserve it. You make them audition for your attention, and then recast the parts. Their desperation is a currency. You monopolize. You trade it in for quiet exits, for leverage, for artful private executions of expectation. And when they think to strike back, you let them rehearse the blow in slow motion. Their theatrics are calibration tools. You measure the depth of their envy, the reach of their lies, the thickness of their loyalties. You take notes while they flail. Later, when it suits you, you return the favor. A text, a polite invoice, a contract redraft that looks like a handshake and reads like a sentence. That's your justice, not the messy headlines, the tidy little corrections that ruin bank accounts and marriages and lunch dates without ever needing a microphone. You hoard irony like a dragon hoards coins. You take their sincerity, polish it, and toss it back with a punchline carved into the edge. The look on their faces when they realize they funded your rise with their outrage is priceless, like watching someone realize their parachute is a tablecloth. They scream, they kneel, they litigate. You take notes and make popcorn. Best of all, you keep the option to be humane. You dole it out like a rare spice in a kitchen full of cheap imitation. When someone proves themselves useful, you don't just forgive, you elevate. But the elevation is earned. That makes your mercy nuclear, beautiful, terrifying, and expensive. People who want to be part of your story have to bring receipts, not excuses. So keep the cigarette lit and the grin sharper than their best insults. Keep the throne messy, the crown crooked, the laugh practiced for maximum collateral. Let the court continue their pantomime of outrage while you draft new laws in the margins of old grudges. You didn't pick the blade for spectacle. You picked it to make the necessary cuts. Now watch as the theater cleans itself around your taste for chaos. The punchlines will write themselves, and the jesters will keep auditioning, still sure that one more song will change the script. They won't. You already wrote the ending, and it's deliciously merciless.